there's so many terms nowadays that people use that just have lost their what they originally meant, and people just throw them around so willy nilly that at a point it just kind of loses what it actually means and what like the main purpose for that term was meant in the first place.
Stuff y'all call woke, it's not new. Like if you in your mid 30s or late 20s, this is not new to even the nerd culture. Like all the cartoons in the 90s and in the 2000s, they all had multicultural stuff going on.
Some of this is a ploy. They want you to be angry and comment and rage and feed on their videos because it's making them money.
It's just a bunch of them that's just like, hey, I'm against the woke stuff. I'll get the woke stuff out of here. I don't want to see them. It's woke. It's woke. Turn it off. I'm trying to be asleep. Turn it off. That's what they want to do.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the No Level Cap Podcast. We back once again with the crew. Talk about all the anime, all the gaming, all the nerd culture. Let me introduce y'all to my incredible co-hosts. We got the collector of collectors, the master of Twitch, Will Coleman. What's going on, Will?
Once again, it's been more Final Fantasy and Street Fighter 6. And then I went and looked back. I had to ask myself, did I ever show y'all that I just got this recently or no?
That's Fez. Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. Mr. Reiner
Awesome.
found it at the game exchange for $35. I said, you know what? I can't pass that up. And it has a manual.
Dang,
so
really?
I'm very
35?
happy about that.
Wow. I'm surprised it's that much.
Huh. I know, right? Got lucky. So I'm glad to have that in the collection now. Especially since the remake's coming out like next year? So we here.
I would have asked why you getting it, but I mean, like, it ain't. They're gonna be two completely different games because they won't have all the extra content. So I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. What's going on, Rakeem?
Currently going on is a very, very, very hot apartment as our air hopefully gets fixed soon. But other than that, everything's been going okay. Work, Final Fantasy 16 as well, playing some Trails of Azure, Street Fighter 6, just bounce between a couple of different games. This week I got back in the gym a little bit too, get back on my workout. So I feel good, feel great. Glad to be going back on that. It's been a minute for me, but it's fun to get back into the gym. But yeah, I'm ready to get into this topic tonight, get into this podcast, and see what happens.
I bet. Hey, we got One Punch Man and the master of combos, Devin Butts. What's going on, Devin?
I'm good, man. Just work week. That's a work week. A week work. I can't talk today. Hopefully,
The work is weak.
The work got me weak.
I mean, a week work is a good week.
Work is soft.
With work. I couldn't find it
Soft ass work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the week was filled with work, man. Playing Street Fighter 6, as Rakeem said. I've been playing ranked like crazy. Been doing some online tournaments here and there, trying to just get better with the game, play some higher level opponents. Haven't been really making any combo footage lately, but have been watching some anime. Me and Rakeem checked out the first episode of the Jujutsu Kaisen, and that was pretty good. It's kind of crazy when an episode is so good, it's like it just ends so quickly. Like when it was over, I looked at him and said, "Is that it?"
The mark of a good episode.
I was like, that couldn't have been 20 minutes. That was like 5 minutes. But that's definitely looking promising. So I also got to go and catch up on some other anime and some new ones that just dropped out. So, but that one was definitely a good treat just starting out. So, yeah, man, ready to get into this podcast, man.
Hey, let's go. And of course, we got the Black Daredevil and the secret weapon of No Level Cap, Terrence Flowers. What's up, Terrence?
I know we made this joke before the podcast started, but I'm going to make it again for our audience. Smoke was just revealed for Mortal Kombat 1 this week, and based on today's topic, we want all the smoke. So it's a smoke-tastic week, so bring it on, I suppose. But yeah, outside of that, I'm good. Can't wait to see how this one goes. It's going to be a spicy one for sure.
Is it?
We'll see. First, let me get this part out of the way. Of course, I am Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. If you didn't know, No Level Cap goes live every Monday morning. We're on YouTube for video fans, but if you prefer the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. All right, so this week I decided that we needed to get spicy. So, they're not wrong. It is a little, we kind of it's gonna wind up being smoky, even though we not. I mean, no, we are looking for the smokes because I want to be honest about it. But I did want to challenge us a bit more, broach a more serious topic. Well, I'm gonna be honest. The five of us is barely able to take anything seriously, so we about to get silly regardless of topic. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's all we know.
I'm already laughing.
But I wanted to talk about something that affects Western nerd culture a ton, and occasionally Japanese gaming media. You know, it's all this talk about woke media and all these anti-woke YouTubers and social media, and I feel like it's always been ridiculous. But lately, when we do like after the podcast, we start talking about games and shit. It's just more and more we've just talked about somebody just talking about woke this and woke that, and it's made less and less sense each time we hear it. And I'm like, man, this is getting out of hand. And so, like, consider this our anti woke episode, a double negative. So just so you know, this is no level cap goes woke, as it were. And it bothers me that we're misusing the word I say we. It bothers me that people are misusing the word woke to begin with. Let's get this out of the way. Woke is like damn near a century old. There's references of like Marcus Garvey using it as a sort of call to action for African nations in like the 1920s. He was telling them to wake up. In the 30s, you had the blues singer Lead Belly. He was telling Black Americans, be careful in Alabama to stay woke, as it were, because of how they was treating us down there. It fell in and out of usage across decades. Mostly the meaning stayed the same. Remain socially aware, remain politically aware of what's happening around you, because we, as Black people, we don't have the privilege to just shrug our shoulders and be ignorant of what's going on around you. Now, of course, you also had some hoteps start using it and making it a little bit of a joke, you know, stay woke, my brother, and all that nonsense. But that is nothing compared to this current nonsense, where after years of Black people using it with a very specific purpose, it got ruined the same way everything else gets ruined these days. The internet got its hands on it. You know, now woke means anything you don't like. Ben and Jerry's, Bud Light, movies, goddamn cartoon characters, whatever the fuck, anything you that bothers somebody, get on somebody's nerves, they be like, oh, this shit woke, like, fuck. Like, you ain't got no other way to criticize shit. And the answer is no, apparently, because that's what's plastered on all the fucking YouTube videos and TikToks and all this other shit. So I do want to get into like just some of the most ridiculous anti-woke comments, because like it's the shit that lets you know, like, okay, sometimes you'll see a criticism and it's a little off kilter, not necessarily in anti-woke shit, but just in general, like criticism you'll see that's kind of off kilter, and you'll like tilt your head and you be like, are they on to something or are they not on to something? But then with like the anti-woke shit, it's like you see shit and immediately you like, okay, these motherfuckers 100% can't be taken seriously. Like, not at all. Devin, what do you think, man? What stuck out to you where you was like, what are y'all talking about?
So I think I watched a video recently. I think me and Rakeem watched it, and we started laughing. It was a video about Street Fighter 6, and the video said Woke Fighter 6. And we were just like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And I actually went and watched, I think I watched that video, and I watched another video that guy did. And one of the ones that I watched was he was talking about Kimberly. And when we talk about how when people use this word woke and how sometimes you can't take anything they say seriously, he made a video's title like, this is the worst character in Street Fighter. I'm like, and I was just, I'm curious, this is why he was like, a ninja should not be dressed like this, blah, blah, blah. She's dancing around like a ballerina, this, that, and the third. I'm like,
you see, guy.
And I when I was like, okay, you know what?
J's on, like,
J's on.
But he was a stoic ninja. You know, he was. I'm like, did you see her master? Did you see Guy's master? He got here with a business suit on, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I don't want to just. I know people say I don't want to play that card, but you know what color that Guy and Zeku weren't, and you know what color she is. So that's
it.
Yeah. I don't know. But the video, I watched it, and like halfway through, I just kind of stopped listening. And so that's one of those, definitely an example of me, like when people just use this term and it's just like, of course, there's a lot of times it's views. There's some clickbait stuff, want some views, want people to start making have some type of conversation. And look at me, I made some content. Please click on my video. So I'm gonna put woke in the title. That's really honestly, I've said it about a lot of terms. Woke is definitely like probably top 3, but there's so many terms nowadays that people use that just have lost their what they originally meant, and people just throw them around so willy nilly that at a point it just kind of loses what it actually means and what like the main purpose for that term was meant in the first place. And woke is definitely definitely one of those. So I just feel like I don't know, man. Maybe like let's see the next 10 years if things will change. I don't know. Maybe it might take 20, 30 years. I don't know. Maybe
I'm gonna say 5. I think it's kind of running its course because like woke fighter 6, because I know that some people was like, oh, it's woke because they put some pants on Cammy, and I'm like, bro, you see the cake that she got? Like, what woke? Like, what are you talking about?
For real.
they said it was a woke because they toned down Chun-Li's thighs. No, they put like a they put like her dress or whatever over it.
That was.
Look, I like Chun-Li's thighs and all, but like they got cartoonish by 5. I'm like, okay, ain't nobody got thighs this goddamn big. Like, let's chill the fuck out. Somebody else.
One cosplayer who could cosplay Chun-Li and she looked ridiculous.
Yeah. There are some women.
There are some, but like on average, like when you look at people, you like, man, nobody got no thighs that goddamn big. Terrence, what about you, man? What's like some shit that you seen and you like, all right, man, get this shit out of here.
You know, Twitter is usually a gold mine for this sort of thing. And funny enough, I thought I had a lot more of these kinds of threads bookmarked, but surprisingly I didn't. I was looking through because I bookmark a lot of stuff, and I was just looking through for a lot throughout this year, and I was like, dang, I don't have any as spicy stuff as I thought I had bookmarked. But I was able to think back to one thing that I think happened not too long ago, because it may have taken place like last month, because it was after Microsoft's conference, and it's the idea that women in games now, they're trying to make them look uglier to not be as appeasing. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. There was the whole conversation about Aloy.
Man, it was.
There was a conversation about I know that one of the talking points was the woman from Fable, the one that's in the trailer, the redhead, that. Oh, she doesn't. Yeah, she's not as hot as these women. Like, why don't they make the women look hot anymore? They all look so unrealistic and frumpy. I'm like, have you ever walked outside? Yeah, have you ever walked outside and seen an actual woman? It's almost like some guys are so conditioned to what they've seen in games because for the longest time we had unrealistic expectations. I mean, we still do, but we had such unrealistic expectations towards what we think women should look like, especially when they're depicted in media, that guys see like this unrealistic, the way women have looked in games up until this point, and now that they're seeing them starting to finally make them look more like real people, it's like now they look less hot to them. And it's also a question of like, why do you think that this character was made to tantalize you in some ways? Like, why can't they just exist as a character that you get to play? Or it's
she
like
gotta
part of
make my
supporting
meat
cast.
hard.
Yeah,
that's the only way she got value.
I mean, that's unfortunately how that's unfortunately what the root of it is.
Yeah, you say what, Devin?
I just want like the context of it, like with Horizon, like why does she need to be like so pretty and dolled up? They're in they fighting for their life.
Exactly. You're in a post-apocalyptic world. No, you're not gonna be all prettied up with makeup and everything. It's like,
Did she wake up and apply mascara every morning? She out here fighting robot dinosaurs?
Look, I don't want the story. Stop explaining logic to me. I want 2000s with the booth babes and the chicks with their titties out for no reason at all. Where it don't make no sense.
My waifus, brother. I need my waifus. I need them
now.
now.
That's what they want.
Actually, Lara Croft was in there too, like the new Lara Croft.
People definitely
still
like that.
She's still pretty attractive to me. I never had a problem with redesign. Honestly,
they just made her more realistic in terms of you can be attractive, but they made it more of a realistic attractive, which there's nothing wrong with that.
They don't want that. They want boobs as big as the character's head and all this other nonsense. That's what they want.
Yeah. But that's one of the main things. That's one of the main things that I saw that I can remember is just the conversation around the fact that video game women now aren't as hot as what they used to be. And that's such a weird and misogynistic topic. I mean, there's a lot more that can be said about it, but that's the surface level of it. So yeah, that's one of the more ridiculous woke quote unquote things that I've seen.
What about you, Rakeem?
So yeah, one of the I started noticing the YouTube videos about a year or two ago with like a lot of woke topics. I know it was like a trend. The one I remember most recently that caught my attention last year was someone made a video about Black Panther 2. And we had just reviewed Black Panther 2 on this very channel. You go back, anybody who views this, go back and watch our review of that. And as you know, that was a very emotional movie for a lot of African Americans because Chadwick Boseman's passing. And we wanted to see how they would handle it. I think they handled it decently. I think it was a pretty decent movie. I liked it. Yeah. And I remember this one video specifically said Black Panther 2 bombed at the box office. Black Panther 2 made $853 million at the box office. I think what they were saying was because it didn't make $1 billion like the original movie did, it's a failure, which is just not the case. It was a very weird argument. And that was the moment I was like, oh, I see how this works now. So how these woke videos, a lot of them work, is that they take the headline woke this or that, and they'll take something out of context, whether it's a conversation online, and sometimes it's in context, and a conversation online, a clip, something someone said, some comparison, and they'll take a moment of that and just hyper fixate on this one thing and don't give you the full context. Because anybody who had a phone could just look and like, there's no way this failed. It made over $800 million. That's a booming success, and really a really good success because people didn't know how people would handle the loss of Chadwick Boseman going into the movie. So that was kind of my wake up call. Like, this is not only like stupid, this can be dangerous because this is just misinforming people. And I think a part of this, the reason it happens so much now is because people just want those headlines. And as a culture, and this is something I thought about the other day, and which I thought this topic was interesting. As a culture, we are too obsessed with people we don't like losing. Everything's about somebody losing, somebody taking an L, somebody getting owned, somebody losing a debate.
They have whole Twitter accounts dedicated to that, like people taking L's and stuff like that.
So and so exposed.
And people feed off of that. I know I've heard people talk about, oh yeah, this man got owned and this and that. And
LTG, probably the biggest one.
Exactly. And it's scary to me because like, it almost saddens me because we as a culture are so big into people losing. That's a part of the problem as well, because we're so fixated on losing, people losing these battles here and there. We never work on actually building or winning at something, like working together on something. It's always about competition. The other side has to lose. And if it don't lose the way I want them to lose all the time, I'm gonna be angry. And we just this constant, almost like blender of anger and outrage. And this can apply to, woke and other controversies as well. But in this specific context, that machine of constantly feeding a negative feedback loop of looking for negative content, seeing somebody lose, looking for negative content, seeing somebody lose. That's how these YouTube channels are making their money off of this now. And that video back then, I saw my Black Panther 2, was like my wake up call was like, this is a silly system and people aren't paying attention to it. It's so easy to be manipulated on the internet. It's so easy to not pay attention to all the details. I had a conversation with a coworker of mine about this, and he's talked about, man, this is scary. You can't discern sometimes what's truth and what's non-truth. It's not as easy as it used to be. Like before, back in the day, you kind of could tell when something was stupid because it was so out of this world and outlandish and silly, and the context came from nobody. And now we're watching videos from people we used to, maybe you used to like, or people who confront, we confide in, and they're talking in this nonsense too, and it's kind of trickling back down. So that was my wake up call to the woke conversation, and I kind of realized how stupid it could be, and sometimes how dangerous it could be.
Man, you hit on a lot of really good points. And like the one key thing is that this idea of people wanting to live in their own reality. And it's like, it's devoid of facts. Like, man, I don't care about the facts. All I care about is like, Black Panther 2 didn't make $1 billion, so it must be a failure. It's like, well, no, first off, like as we're seeing now, it's a lot harder for Marvel to make that money than it used to be. Because the film industry has just changed, and like Black Panther 2 getting the money that it made, that in itself was like an incredible success. So
Black Panther 2 beat out Indiana Jones this year.
It beat out the Flash.
Beat out the Flash. It's beating a lot of these movies coming out this year. So yeah, it's definitely didn't lose.
Will, what about you, man? What did you see that you was where you was just like, all right, man, get this bullshit out of here?
Well, I did mention this one earlier before. We just kind of slightly chatted over a little bit. Terrence probably know what I'm talking about, and it's this thing with Skullgirls, because right now that game has been out for the longest, and it's kind of hit roadblock after roadblock, and the most recent roadblock is with the developers and the team behind it. They made a few key changes to the artwork and some things in the art books that you get when you buy the game online in like this digital package. So basically, to make a long story short, they basically like quote unquote censor some things, but they put it out in like a forum post or like a newsletter saying, hey, we noticed there's some things in here that we kind of feel like at this current time, we don't want to have that here. This is our choice. We chose to do that. Keep that part in mind where they say we chose to do this. They're like, we chose to do this, so we want to take these things out because we feel like that's a little insensitive to keep those things in. So I was trying to explain it earlier. They took these armbands off of a character's like little militia she has called the Black Egrets. They have a red armband. And if you paid attention in history class, what other group wore red armbands in their uniform?
Yahtzees.
There you go. So they took those off. They removed those. And Skullgirls cast is mostly kind of comprised of teenage characters. So, and as you know, most of that cast is female. So there is a character. She is cartoonishly voluptuous, but she is a teenager. And early on in the game, when she get knocked down, you can see her panties as she's falling and as she's knocked out. They decided to take that out. They took that stuff out. Then there's like some scenes, I guess, from the storyboards or whatever from the arcade mode. They covered up some of those from some of the characters that were like kind of having their clothes ripped or like it was like gratuitous panty shots and things of that sort. They took that out. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So y'all made the choice to do that. A freakish side of Twitter came out for that. And they were livid. They were like, why did y'all take this out of the game?
I didn't even know we had that many Skullgirl fans.
That's what I'm saying. They pulled out of the woodwork. I'm just
some
like,
of them not fans.
They are not at all. I'm just like, I love the game because it plays well. I love the influence from Marvel and everything from it. I love Skullgirls to death. It's a fun game. But to see so many people come out there probably have never in their a day in their life, picked up one of these or picked up this motherfucker here to play Skullgirls. I'm sorry. Why are you here getting mad about seeing a 16-year-old's panties? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with them?
Oh, we know. I ain't got to say it out loud, but if you want to say it out loud, by all means, my brother, speak it.
Oh, we know. Let's not get that close to being demonetized.
I got you. But yeah, it turned into this whole thing. And another part of this whole thing is I think a lot of them thought that someone went out of their way to be mad about it. Because, that's another thing with this too, where some people, a certain section of people don't like what they saw and said
censorship.
And then it turns into that C word, censorship. They just like, you're censoring my this, and that, so on and so forth. Another big one, Overwatch. People definitely had issues with Overwatch with the cast because the cast is so diverse in what they are. Where like for the longest when the game came out, it was all good. People like Tracer, people like all these different characters. Then they pulled out and said Tracer was a lesbian.
I remember that.
People had a fit. They pulled out and said
that was a long time ago.
I know.
Yeah.
People, but because Overwatch porn is so distinct at this point, I think people kind of forget anyways. But
fair enough.
Fair.
Yeah, and then Soldier 76, Call of Duty man, as I call him. He's gay apparently, and people didn't like that. People don't like it in Apex Legends either, because like the big islander Gibraltar, he's gay. No one cares. People had a problem with that. People had a problem with Loba being bi. It's just a bunch of stuff all across video games where people are just like, they shouldn't be representing all this in these video games. Just make everybody
don't have no reasoning for it either. They just be mad. I'm like, what are you mad about?
They just be mad. You see the steam coming off their head about it, and you just like, do you have a good reason? And it always come back to, I don't want them to be this way. And I'm like, that's not good enough reasoning for me. Where are you coming from with this? Because there has to be something internally wrong that you're not telling us.
What's up, Rakeem?
And I was thinking about this, like, I've seen this argument with like other medias or IPs or games where it's an established character that changes the sexuality or something else, and people get upset about that. But when it's a brand new character, that's just the character.
That's what you're telling on yourself, like for real.
You gotta be real careful with that because, like, we got to be real. The scariest part about this is when you see any type of like a different lifestyle than what you agree with or what you're into, and you're automatically negative against it. That can't do nothing but hurt the industry in the long term. Everybody can't be the same. I'm sorry. Right. And I saw a YouTube video like I think a year ago where someone brought up, like, I think it was another controversy or something like that. But the specific thing he said in that video struck with me was like, when you have like a big change in the industry right now where there's way more diversity than it used to be, or people are pushing for different things like that, there's always going to be growing pains for several years until these things are normalized. It's going to be heavy-handed because it's trying to be normalized in the society. And like that's part of the growing pain process, that you're going to start seeing things pushed more, but over time it's not going to be as like focused on, because as a society we're supposed to just normalize it, and it won't be that big of an issue. Right. But yeah, it's kind of telling, like when it's a brand new character and like you don't like that they're gay. Like, I mean, they created the character. It's one thing, like it's a character you've known for 40 years and like they just get out of nowhere. You know, I could sort of see that maybe, and it just a little bit. But when it's a new character, that's why I put my foot down. Like, bro, you kind of telling yourself like you just don't agree with that lifestyle and it just hurts you. This is what the character is. You got to deal with that.
Exactly.
Man, I tell you, I knew it was dumb from the beginning, but like when they started coming up with these dumbass catchphrases, go woke, go broke. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's when I knew you not serious. Like it's catchy, but it's like you apply one iota of thought to it, and I'm like, nah, this shit dumb. Like, and like we see this shit constantly. I think the first thing that kind of made me think about it was when we was like talking video games after the show one time, and like we were looking at reviews for Resident Evil 4, and one of the reviews was like, yo, man, what's up with all this woke music? And I was like, what the fuck is woke music?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I was like, what is that? Like, what do you mean? And I mean, I know what they mean, but like, I'm like, why can't you? Hold on, I'm gonna get to it. And then there was like, sometimes you get people that's trying to hide behind it. You know, y'all remember Days Gone?
Yeah,
it came out and everybody thought it was mid, and then like the Days Gone director was like, look, I ain't going. He was like, look, the game did bad. And he listed off some reasons, and one of the reasons was like that it did bad because of woke reviewers that couldn't handle a gruff white biker looking at his girlfriend's ass. I'm like, that ain't why that game did bad.
Like,
that game did. Like, get real with yourself, bro. Like the game, like people thought it was mid. Like it's people that don't care none of what you talking about when you talk about some woke shit. They picked up Days Gone and was like, nah, this shit cheeks, and then they put it down. Like that's what that was. And I knew, like, for sure it was out of control. That damn Captain Marvel movie came out. I went to see Captain Marvel, and it was cool. It was just an alright film. Like, I was like, okay.
Fine.
Yeah, exactly. It was fine. Capital F fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with this film. The amount of nerd rage that we got about that movie and that poor actress was insane. Should have seen all these dudes trying to delve deep into the film and explain how all the men in it was useless and that it had a deeper message and all this. I'm like, oh, now you want to be media literate. When all the people when all the women and the black folks and the LGBT people was telling you about media literacy, you was ignoring it then, but now obviously you want to delve deep, find out how all the men is useless. Like, man, if you don't get your bitch ass out of here, like, even remember that one, like when we did the video, we talked about Forspoken, you had that one random guy that was just like, all I want to play is a good game. I don't know why does it matter if the character's black, and I'm like, man, shut up, like. That. Y'all just be telling on yourselves. And here's the thing that bothers me the most. I just want to know, why are y'all so damn cowardly? Like, stop saying woke. Say what you mean. Like, I used to have this saying that I used to say around the house. Rakeem know what I'm talking about. I used to say, what do words mean? And it's like, I just want to know, like, what do y'all think woke means? And why can't you use the word that you really mean? Like, just say, look, this movie got a woman as the lead. And I like women as damsels in distress like it's the 1960s. Like, just say that. Or just be honest. Say what?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm gonna watch a Super Mario Brothers review of somebody, and like they were upset that Peach was lit. They were upset Peach was not a traditional damsel in distress. That's what they wanted to see.
It ain't the
and they felt like Mario was like, and this was like, I don't even think they watched the movie. It was just the trailer. It was so weird. I was like, yeah, man, you see, I'm not even going to watch this. Look how Mario's in the background. He should be stronger, and she's not. She should be more of a damsel in distress. I'm like, bro, like, how many damsel in distress stories do we need to see?
I don't need no more.
I didn't see them all.
I don't see enough.
It reminds me of, like, I seen this.
Good. But I
like
ain't got to see no more.
some dude was like talking about the Marvels movie, like they like commented on the poster and they looked at it and like, or actually the trailer and the poster, and he had the poster in the background. He was like, I'm gonna let y'all know it's about to get racist, it's about to get homophobic, and it's about to get sexist. And somebody in his comments was like, yeah, man, see, this movie is trash, and like you could tell it's trash and this and that. Bro was like, bro, the movie, like the guy talked about it like it was out, and it's like, the movie not even out yet. Like, you pre-ordering your racism? This is crazy, man. What's going on? Like,
wow,
y'all got to get a grip. Like, just say it. Like,
pre-order to play racism early.
Hey, just say it. Like, I don't want you N-words in my movie. Like, say that shit. Like, at least then you straightforward with me. Like, don't lie to me. Stop gaslighting me. Like, stop with the bullshit. Just let me know. Like, oh, I don't fuck with this group, and then we can all be like, cool, and move on. Stop acting like you got a legitimate criticism.
What's that old saying? What's that old saying, Sage? Say it with your chest.
You damn right. Say it with your goddamn chest. Like, put 10 toes down. Say it. Like, oh, I just don't like you N-words. Like, I came here Black Panther while all these black people in the movie, as Devin was saying earlier. Like,
saying what I came for.
I came for this. I thought it was gonna be an Avengers movie with like Black Panther as the protagonist, and then it was just gonna be all white people aside from that. Just be honest. Stop lying to everybody. And the thing that really gets me. What's up?
Oh, my bad, Sage. I always find this analogy of like when you have a black character who becomes the lead of a movie that was like a side character in the past. It's kind of like a rookie in the NBA. When you come as a side character, you all cool. Everybody think you cool. Then you sign that money. You get that big money. You get on that criticism. Everything about you wrong. You don't win right. All the fans turn on you. They ready to get you out of there. It's like the same situation, man.
As soon as you got some kind of importance.
As soon as you got some kind of importance, all of a sudden, like you saw such a bigger microscope, and like they never would have looked at you that way if you were just a side character.
You know, I'm glad Rakeem said that because it reminds me of something that I seen like that. Like, it kind of takes off of the point that I was gonna make, where it's like all this stuff y'all call woke, it's not new. Like, if you in your mid-30s or late 20s, this is not new to even the nerd culture. Like, all the cartoons in the 90s and in the 2000s, they all had multicultural stuff going on. Like Captain Planet, they let the black man lead that team. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I remember this show Bionic 6 when I was a kid. It was like this family of like adventurers, but like it was an adopted family, and like one of the kids was black and one of the kids was Asian. It was a white family. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I guess you trying to get everybody. Extreme Ghostbusters had that. All the live action shows, Power Rangers, Big Bad Beetleborgs. I'll never forget as a kid, you know, everybody's favorite Power Rangers ripoff, Masked Rider. The show had a white dad, an Asian mom, a adopted black son. They looked at Prince Dex's weird alien ass and was like, all right, come on, you family now too. They ain't care. It was like, whatever. This stuff been around as long as all of us have been alive. They've just taken it a step further. And like Rakeem said, now all the queer characters or like the women or like the other races, they in the lead. And now they've just gotten like, they going further with it. And they've gotten better at it, quite frankly. They've gotten better with the writing. And isn't that what you want? Like, don't you want the writing to get better over time? Like, come on, man. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just frustrating to watch all this nonsense and listen to these people make excuses about why they don't like it instead of just being straightforward. Speaking of, how much of this do y'all think is genuine? And I mean, like, to some extent, if you pushing hatred, because like some of the shit is just hatred. Like the shit they did to like, what's Brie Larson, that's just hatred, bro. Like you ruining it, you messing with that woman's life, like that's just hate. And but still, how much of this hate, because they just, you know, they what's the word I'm looking for, like black holes, they just don't care about people. And so I'm wondering how much of this is just trying to push the algorithm. How much of this is angry nerd rage content just repackaged? Like, remember all the angry nerd this, angry nerd that, now all that shit is gone, and everything you see now is woke, and then like the dude just screaming in red or whatever, painted red and shit in Photoshop. And I'm like,
or the woman who's screaming in the air, they use that picture so much, bro.
Man.
And one lady will be
exactly. And then like, and another question I wanted to ask on top of that, like, have any of y'all ever had to stop following a creator because they started with that anti-woke shit? Terrence, what about you, man?
So for the first question, I'll say that, I mean, negativity, unfortunately, that's what feeds the algorithm now. And a lot of people have caught on to that. I mean, hell, that's all of Twitter right there. It's like, man, it's so easy. For a while, there was that one picture from Tango where Finn, I think that's the character, Flynn, no, Flynn, I think that's his name, the main male character of Tango.
Oh yeah, you're
where
right.
it has all
You're right.
the swords pointed at him. There was a point where people were just taking that picture and saying, insert blank, what opinion do you have that would have you looking like this? Any response to that would go viral. And it was just crazy. That happened for like a whole month. And any negative opinion people just laid out there, it just had the instant viral potential. And that's the same thing with YouTube, where a lot of these like anti-woke videos, or just any video that's like framed as like bashing something, it may not like go, some of them do go like super viral, but others, they go viral enough to where they get the attention that they wanted. And that's just unfortunately the nature of a lot of this content now, is that maybe like 10 or so years ago, maybe I can't even say 10, maybe like 15 or so years ago, it felt like whenever you critiqued video games or like anime, it was more so based in, I mean, there was still some bad reasoning back then, but there was still some reasoning that was based just more so on like critiquing just the show or the game itself. Whereas now it's like the anti-woke stuff has been stacked on top of it, just because there's so much viral potential with it. And it's just easy just to use that as like a talking point. And there's even times that I'll say that a lot of these people, they don't even necessarily believe what they're saying. They just know that it will go viral. It'll get views. It'll get them an audience. And that's all that they need. Because unfortunately, we live in a world where if you go viral, regardless of how you go viral, that's what counts. I mean, it could be negative, it could be for good. As long as you're getting your 15 minutes or your 15 seconds of fame, that's ultimately what matters. And so that's what I think is driving a lot of this content now, is that, yeah, in years past, we did have like the angry nerds, them raging against certain things. And there was, it was more so new back then. It wasn't as like hatred driven, at least as far as I remember. There was still some hatred, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as hatred driven. But now it feels like that hatred is just stacked on top of it, and people feel like they're more free to just kind of give out their hateful opinions as long as it's disguised under like the anti-woke label. In regards to like content creators, I'm not going to name any, just because for me, if I unfollow them, I don't want to give them attention. But yeah, there was one that I was thinking of, because as soon as you posed this question in our Discord, Sage, I was like, I don't know if there's anyone that I thought of. And then immediately one came to my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I did kind of unfollow them just because they started to venture down that path. For me, usually there hasn't really been anyone that, usually if I unfollow somebody, it's just because they've fallen off and it's just like, okay, I just don't need to follow this person anymore. But very rarely have I followed someone and they go way deep down the rabbit hole into anti-woke stuff that just makes me unfollow them. But yeah, there's probably a few more examples here and there, but if I unfollowed you, I tried to be like out of sight, out of mind. So yeah.
I respect the hell out of Terrence for taking the high road.
That doesn't mean you all have to. I mean, I just chose not to.
No, I mean, like, that's why I said I respect it. Like, that's how you really supposed to do it. But like, the internet has damn near obliterated the idea of the high road these days. So I mean, you know,
fair enough.
Everything in the vein of just being as angry as possible and getting all the, you know, the hatred out. Rakeem, what about you, man?
So personally, for me, for the first question, I see this anti-woke movement as nothing but the continuation of the anti-feminist movement that was on YouTube many years ago. It is like a direct one for one. You basically could just switch the words out. It's the same exact thing. The wording, the video, even the thumbnails, everything is basically the exact same kind of thing. And I think a part of it, some of the people who are doing this are into it because it is kind of pushing a hatred mantra. But what they're trying to hark into is like men who feel like, and it's a bigger topic as a whole, so I can't go into a full conversation, but like men who feel like their presence or their their worth has gone down as the rise of feminism and women coming out and Me Too has gone on. They feel displaced. So these videos kind of find this like they don't know how to express themselves. Basically, like men are in this emotional state because they feel displaced in an area they have never been in before. And now they look at these videos and they kind of like give a voice to their frustration that they can't figure out within them, even though it might not even be exactly what they really feel, but it's a way for them to like express their anger in a way, kind of like when people have those things when they get a hammer and they just break all the doors down. That's what the controversy is like, man. Like going into an empty room, breaking the doors down, busting it down. That's how it is going against like people talking down on women, going against certain groups and like LGBT and things like that. It's basically like them trying to express their inner issues that they've had for that they couldn't come to terms with. And people find those groups of people and basically harness them to make their audience. And that's kind of how this algorithm is kind of being pushed. That's how I kind of see it being portrayed. And I think some people have caught on to it earlier, and it's like, especially those who went from the feminist to the woke, that's definitely forced. Because if you were just truly anti-feminist, you would have kept anti-feminism. You wouldn't have switched the wording to woke. Just an easier buzzword that just catches the algorithm better. That's a big brain move for you to make more money. On to the second question. What was the second question again, Sage? I'm sorry.
Have you ever had to stop following a creator because it was like too much anti-woke nonsense?
Okay, gotcha. There was a creator I followed, and he made like Souls content. When I was big in the Elden Ring last year, I was out. Games are. The lore is like interpretive and everybody has a different perception on it. And I find that very interesting to watch those, especially like when I need to sleep at night and I'm tired. I'll just listen to Vadi video and go to sleep. So, you know what I'm saying? But like this specific guy used to do these really great video essays interpreting the lore and the characters and really interesting. And then I took a little break from him because I stopped playing Elden Ring. So I was like, you know what? I hadn't seen his video in a while. And I just know he completely transitioned to like anti-woke stuff. Like there's nothing of his old style content at all. And I kind of looked, I was like, what's going on here? And I looked back and I kind of saw it. Some of his videos started going down, but as soon as he put like something about Disney or something about woke or something like that, 100,000 views, 200,000 views.
That show was about to ask him like, how the fuck do you get from Elden Ring and Dark Souls to like woke? How dare they made the Little Mermaid black? How dare, like, how the fuck did you do that? But there, that would be the answer.
That's how it happens, man. Because like, to me personally, if you really disagree with something or don't like something, the easiest thing to do, just don't watch it. Don't give any attention to it. You keep talking about The Little Mermaid. There are people who probably went to see that movie to prove to themselves that it was bad and paid for a ticket.
Yeah.
Which undoes the whole point of being angry against it. If you don't like something, you don't promote it. You don't show it. You don't talk about, hey, I wasn't feeling this movie. I talk about it. That's really the way to me how to handle it. If you anti something, you don't believe in something, don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. Focus on the things that like you actually like, the content you actually enjoy to do. But unfortunately, you can't do that because that stuff doesn't feed the algorithm. The hatred does. And it's like, and that's one of the things that kind of upsets me about like YouTube sometimes. People who have like built good content because that content is either going out of favor, and sometimes it comes down to that person didn't evolve well and they have to transition because they didn't see their content going down a rabbit hole over time and they had to adjust to what was going on. But sometimes it's just really sad to see them go in a completely other direction and like be something so negative when they have such positive content. I just don't like that. Constant negative content is not something I want to consume ever, whether it's anti-woke or anti-anything. If you keep giving me negative, you agree with it sometimes. I can't stay in that mindset all the time. I just can't.
Look, much as I enjoy Stephanie Sterling's content, it's only so much of it I can see because it's like, all right, man, this. I understand that you're pissed and rightfully so, but I can only be so pissed. Like I can't walk through life just constantly angry.
You start feeling it on your body at some point.
Yeah.
When it starts to become like part of your personality to be angry, it just that's when you kind of have to re-examine some things.
Right. Will, what about you, man? Like, is any of this like? How much do you feel like this is just like, hey, man, we just trying to pop the algorithm? And have you had to stop following the creator because they started posting like a bunch of anti-woke bullshit?
Okay, so to answer your first question, I do agree with Terrence that I feel like a lot of this, and Rakim, I feel like a lot of this is just to get the algorithm kind of moving in their favor. And a lot of time, I feel like they truly don't believe half of the things they say. But I do know that there definitely is a good percentage, or maybe even a small percentage, that truly believe the stuff they saying. And honestly, I'll even say this. I feel like they're just a bunch of misguided souls with a camera and just want somebody to listen to them. That's really what it is. They're just people who want someone
Male
to hear
podcast. As I say it ironically.
We are.
Yeah, but we know where we at. We stay in our lane. There's just a little veer off the road for a second. That's all. But when it comes to that type of content, I just feel like so many people just want to jump on this and get it. Like I said, it's $1 to be made on YouTube if you can get the right set of people and hit the right set of things, and that number just shoots up. You can get it. But there's definitely a set of people that really do believe the shit they say. There are a lot of people that will say it with their chest, as I said earlier. There are a lot of people that stand on what they say and truly believe that. But it's just a bunch of them that's just like, hey, I'm against the woke stuff. I'll get the woke stuff out of here. I don't want to see them. It's woke. It's woke. Turn it off. I'm trying to be asleep. Turn it off. That's what they want to do. And I hate it. It's a bunch of people that just want to be that way. And it sucks. But I don't know. I don't really know what more to say on them, because I just think it's a bunch of people that have a lot of misguided anger, a lot of misguided and very, what's the word, emotionally unstable fans. They just kind of hopping on the bandwagon like, oh my God, somebody gets me. I thought
men were logical.
Men are logical to an extent, not fully, and that's coming from me, a man.
That's some men at that. Some men not logical at all.
Yeah, some they think they're logical.
Hey man, at the end of the day, everybody's logical till they get emotional.
That is exactly correct.
Let them know.
King dropped the bar.
Talk to them. Let them know. But
see what it is.
King hit it. I ain't got no more talking in me. But to let it be known on that other part, the other question, as of recent, I haven't had anyone that I was just like, you know what, you ruining my day right now. I gotta get rid of you. I gotta take you out the list because I'm tired of seeing your face. I'm tired of seeing your thumbnails. I gotta get rid of you. I hadn't had nobody, but there is a set of people that I had a good while back. I used to enjoy their content quite a bit. Then they went on and said, we gonna veer all the way off the road. And
I wonder if I know who y'all talking about.
I'm like,
I'm gonna ask y'all off the show. I'm curious.
As soon as they went that way, I said, I gotta go this way. I'm sorry, I can't keep up with y'all like that because y'all lost me. I see y'all sponsorships here and there on Twitter, but I can't do this with y'all.
I tell you what, man, I'm gonna say this. Like, I do think to some extent it's like, you're targeting a specific audience that are confused and angry, like Rakeem said. And then but the problem is the videos give the anger a direction, and that direction is not great. And I'm also gonna say this: there's no excuse for some of this. Like, understand that even if you say, oh, I don't believe any of this, I'm just doing it for the views and for the money and all of that, or like I'm gonna get like the ad revenue and get my money up. Like, understand that what you're doing is making people's lives worse. It has a tangible negative effect on people who already probably are going through more shit than you're going through. Like, you going through some shit, and I'm not saying that you're not. Like, especially like some of the people that watch the content, like Rakeem said, they experience this time in their life where they just don't know their place in life, and that's cool. But understand that, like, just because you going through something, you're not the only one that's going through some shit. And the person that you directing your hatred and your anger at may be going through way more. Probably is, like, because it's usually like, marginalized communities. It's usually like women, people of color, LGBT. Like, they probably going through more shit than you. Like, all the shit you going through plus some extra shit. And so, like, for you to like target them, like, I can't let you off the hook just because you unsure of yourself in the 21st century of like what a man should be like. Figure it out, nigga. I don't know what to tell you. Like, stop taking L's and stop making excuses and figure it out. But like, and then the other side of this is if you making money off this, you willing to sell out whole communities. Like, you are literally selling your soul. And I know that the term sellout has lost a lot of its meaning, mostly because capitalism has like consumed us to such a point where it's like, hey man, selling out is all it is. Like, if you ain't paying bills and if you ain't balling out, then who are you? Like, if you can't stunt for the gram, who are you? Like, I understand that, but like, if you selling people out to make that money to do all that stunting, then I can't respect that. So like, I'm not giving you. I understand some of this is probably the pop algorithm, but like I'm still not letting you off the hook. You still a fuck nigga in my books. Like you could have. There are other ways you could have gone. There's other content that you could have tried to make. And quite frankly, and I know this hurts to hear, but like if the option is dump on black people, dump on women, dump on LGBT people, or be broke, then the answer you need to pick is be broke. But guess what? It's almost never going to be just those two options. There are 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10, 11, 12 choices that you could have made. And you was like, yeah, but if I say some shit about Black Panther 2 or the Marvels or Miss Marvel and all this other shit, I can get a quick buck. Fuck you then. If that's what it is, if all it is I'm gonna pop the algorithm, make some money, quick money, and shit on the whole group, fuck you then. Now the flip side, like the other thing, as far as like stop following a creator because they started posting anti-woke shit, that has happened to me a couple of times. I at first I was like, nah, this shit never really happened to me. There's been some creators that I've like, I thought they was cool, I thought they had to, you know, but then like you start seeing like shit on Twitter and they start saying like, oh yeah, you know, I don't understand why I keep getting all this hatred from the left and this and that. And I'm like, okay, look, I understand the left sometimes can be a little detached, but like, it's only so much I that still it raised like alarm bells in my head where I'm like, okay, well, what are you talking about? And then like eventually they'll become obsessive. They all kind of follow the same path. They become obsessive. Then they start, you know, promoting some shit where I'm like, this, you know, some anti-woke shit or some nonsense that I don't fuck with. Or like Rakeem said with the negativity, like constantly being negative. And I'm like, oh, okay, you gotta go. And I was gonna call them out, but I'm not. I will say that there is a group that I did follow and I like, and this is the sad thing, because this group wasn't that like they didn't give me that problem. But like I remember when I first started following Kind of Funny, I was like, all right, are they randomly gonna get weird? I mean, it was like a group of all, like at the time it was all white dudes. It was just 4 white dudes. And I'm like, fuck, are they gonna get weird on me? And then I've seen they had an episode about politics right after Trump got elected, which is when all that goofy shit really started. And I was like, fuck, Lord, is this where it goes bad? And they didn't. Like, it was like a decent job, and they've done a great job of being like a progressive voice and like steering clear all that anti-woke shit. Like, they've done a great job. But it's sad that it has to get to the point where I can't just watch a creator and be like, okay, yeah, you know, they make good content. I fuck with them. I'm gonna just watch their content. I gotta have that voice in the back of my head, like, is this person, can I follow this person? Am I gonna be following this person and like 2 weeks later they're gonna put some, how dare they change the race of this character? And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And it is simple enough to just click the unfollow button, but it also feels like you've been tricked a little bit. Like you thought that this person was cool, and then you thought and that some of that is parasocial relationship. Like you
That's
thought,
true.
you know, that this
But
person
you
was
never know
somebody.
them.
Right. Like you thought that you knew them, you thought you understood them, and now like when they reveal who they really are, you like, damn, I thought I knew that person. Like, no, you never really knew them. Like you seeing them through like a hour, you know, podcast or hour and a half podcast. Like you don't really know that person. Like you don't know what they like in regular life. But like it always just hurts. And not like, you know, like, oh, I'm depressed, but it's just like, damn, that sucks. It's just, it feels bad. And it just gives you that like gross feeling for a little bit. But I mean, that's the kind of society that we live in right now, unfortunately. Devin, what about you, man? How much do you feel like, have you ever had to stop following a creator? And how much of this do you feel is just like, hey, man, I'm just trying to pop the algorithm?
I think I'm actually on the side of it's probably more for the algorithm. Because if I look back at, not to say that it's all of it, it's definitely a good bit of the hate too. I actually want to speak on that. I actually saw a video about, you know, the April O'Neil thing was a big thing with Ninja Turtles.
Man, I forgot about that.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was
Are we talking about the new one?
yeah, from the movie.
Okay, yeah.
And I was looking at some of the like the titles, and it was crazy. Like, you know how like again this goes into like the algorithm, keywords, bit all caps, stuff like that. Very, I mean, we live in this is basically the past few years we've been in social media like garnered generation. So everything you see is like headline society. You see some headline, it's some say some crazy title, but these headlines for these the titles for these videos by April was crazy. April is fat and black. I'm like, yo, like, hey man,
Where's all this
hey,
hatred? Like, relax.
No,
like,
bro.
you could have made. I would have given you like, hey, you made the title. I don't know. Just I'm not quite with the new April, but just April's fat all caps, black all caps. I'm like, yo,
Why?
I saw like at least 2 or 3 videos with that similar title. I'm like, and one video, this chick, she was like, again, it was like she was trying to say, well, we prefer the old April O'Neil, and even if you say that, but it's like, but she said she's ugly. I'm like, what makes her ugly? Because the character's not ugly. Then she's like, they gave her a boy's haircut, so dreads don't men only wear dreads like locks.
Yeah, you know.
So you really is just sounding stupid and uninformed because that's
also,
not.
we've had like multiple generations of April at this point. If you like a
That's what
certain
I'm
one,
saying.
just go back.
They were
What
like,
old April are you talking about? Is if
Okay,
we're
old
we know
separate?
what old April we talking
got
about.
movies?
Oh, we talking about that pure.
We talking about this. We talking about this. We talking about this. We talking about this.
And I just thought it was kind of wild because I looked at the character and then also, you know, people, y'all know I'm a creative. I do thumbnail stuff, and I see people just do the trashiest, the stupidest, ugliest looking thumbnail. They picked a low resolution picture of like April from that scene. You couldn't even really tell, like it was just so low res. I'm like, why would you not show like? I had to go actually look. I'm like, this character don't look ugly. It's just like it's a black chick. She's a black representation of April, and they kind of gave her put a little more weight on. But they were talking about this. I'm like, it ain't. Y'all act like she out here looking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something. I'm like,
You know what it is, bro.
somebody.
You already know.
Actually, I screenshot some of the comments. One of the comments, somebody said it's crazy when April O'Neil looked like more of a turtle than the Ninja Turtles. I'm like, wow,
Wow.
he's supposed to stripping, man. I'm like, yo,
That hatred run deep, bro.
let me see if I can find this real quick, man.
Veins.
I was like, yo, this is wild. Like, and it's really a lot of time, like, again, there's some hate to it, but I do believe people just trying to get folks, I want you to click on my video. I'm talking about some nonsense. There's really no point for me to be talking about this, but I know that this is what is being driven. This is how the algorithm has been garnered. So I want you to click on this video. Let me see if I can find the screenshot of that real quick. Okay, so one of them said, I mean, people in the comments just putting stuff that just like, why are you typing this?
You know why?
If April is that big and doesn't do cardio her whole life, she wouldn't be able to run away from the bad guys pursuing her. All right.
Well, she's a cartoon character, so none of that matters.
That's what I'm saying. It's fictional. Then this one, she said they've changed her to the point where she's not even recognizable anymore. If you show that picture to anyone who hasn't seen the trailer, they'd never guess that's April. I mean, if they never knew about the older one, I guess that will be true. What's the one that really was just like, okay, this is an April being out of shape would never make sense. She was always in danger for being close to the turtles and Casey. I remember I remember there being a storyline that she started training with Splinter so she could defend herself as well. Like, I mean, so why she still could do this? All right, but I just saw it and I was just like, the titles was just crazy to me. And I cannot remember what this was. This was like, do y'all remember a few years ago that there was I don't know if it ever happened, but there was somebody trying to make like a full black cast anime. It wasn't like
with
what's
Black
the show
Sands?
on Netflix? Maybe. And like it was a lot of uproar about it. He was like, all black, and I'm just like, what's wrong with it being an all black cast anime?
That's what they tell us to do is like go make your own stuff.
And as soon as we do, they like, how dare y'all? Like,
and you know what's crazy? Somebody in one of these comments said it's always a problem. It's never a problem if a white character turn black, but you can never do the opposite. I'm like, but y'all was out here pulling your hair out when they had Ariel. So really, if you saying that, it's on both ends. You can't say
sound like it's a problem no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And if you do, damned if you don't.
So I don't know, man. It's just wild when you see stuff like that. It's like fictional characters and these people, like the one she does, the person in the video is like, she's ugly. I'm like, she's not ugly. Like what is your? I mean, it sounds like there's a certain version of a certain particular sense of beauty that you feel it is, and what she look like she's not ugly, but you saying she ugly just because she's a little, they put a little weight on her. I'm just like, you know what? This is exactly.
Well, I can tell you what it is. If they hate black men, they damn sure hate black women. You like every time, like it's they gonna get them double what they give us, and we already getting a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think a lot of this stuff is unnecessary, but a lot of it is people trying to pull on the algorithm. I even think about they're not really similar to this, but just the keywording, like the wording, like angry video game nerd, angry Joe, like those words, like they pull in and angry. From what I know, Angry Joe, he just stick the game. He don't do no nonsense. But those words, just like those keywords, all this stuff, like it. And honestly, this stuff kind of dips off into the red pill a little bit. It's like the same. It's
all the
basically like the same.
Yeah. We could do a hell of a deep dive if we wanted to on that kind of stuff.
That's a whole other episode. I ain't gonna lie.
It is.
Because like the archetype of like what we talk about when people make these videos and they say things is like you can't take them serious. That's like how a lot of some real pill content, when you hear them say stuff like, I can't even take this person serious, man. It's like they just saying some wild stuff, and it's like this stuff is not practical. Why? Like, or do you even know what you're talking about? Have you ever experienced this or done like? But it's really similar. Now to the unfollowing creator, excuse me. I think I've unfollowed. I rarely unfollow people. If I follow somebody I like the content, I usually just follow them. Now there have been some people, at least maybe one that I unfollowed, but it wasn't because of them like doing woke, like some anti-woke, just a whole different direction of content. It was either them just wilding out in other ways, but it was never usually that. Like, because most content I follow is just like gaming stuff, watching people play fighting games. I mean, if you bring all that, well, I mean I just talk about us,
6, so
you know. So I guess ain't nothing safe, you know.
They're gonna get off my girl Kimberly, bro, for real.
I guess ain't nothing safe. So I don't know, but yeah, I haven't really had specifically somebody that started just spouting nonsense, and I unfollow them for that reason. But I have unfollowed people. Very seldom that I've done it, but I have unfollowed people, not for that specific reason though.
That's fair. All right, so I want to kind of wrap this up. We need to wind down. Got about 15 minutes, so real quick, I just want to like sort of, like see if we can get a solution, or at least just talk about like the way out.
Okay.
So like the next question is just, how do we escape this dumbass anti-woke bullshit? And I'm gonna go first and get it out the way real quick. I'm gonna just say, like, I think to some extent this shit is gonna burn out from overusage. Like how we just talking about all this angry nerd content. Like you don't see that as much, or like angry nerd, like that's kind of dying down. Eventually, it wasn't enough to be angry. You had to be angry about woke media. And that's just, that all of that shoots you up the algorithm. But eventually that shit is going to be played out like everything else. Like people going to be like, hey, man, cut that out. Like I remember Rakeem talked about this. I remember in the mid 2000s, used to have this liberal gets owned where somebody showed up and, they weren't skilled. Like somebody that was liberal might be not skilled as a at debating. And then they get shown up by some dork with a suit and tie who spent his life on the debate team instead of making friends and talking to women. And like what eventually happened was like some of the leftists and liberals who could actually debate started showing up, and you saw the counter movement of just dunking on those people like endlessly. And like you're gonna see that, like people just being like, hey man, like this shit is fine. Like the woke content you complain about is fine. And like what eventually has to happen is that as diverse media becomes more commonplace, you'll just see a counter movement. Like I just hope it gets so commonplace from like stuff like Across the Spider-Verse, because like I even seen a video. It was like Across the Spider-Verse is woke but good, and I'm like,
I did see that. That's we're getting through to him. We're getting through.
Woke but good. I'm like, yes, like because like we got to get rid of this, and that's the problem. Because like, of course, it was good. Like it's not good because it's woke, and it's not bad because it's woke. Like that's just diversity. Like what are you talking about? Like this is why we got to get rid of this anti-woke shit in the first place. It's ruining the discussion. Because here's the thing, one, and this is real quick, like you're making user reviews useless. I know Horizon, like we talked about Horizon. Horizon Burning Shores had its user reviews destroyed because Aloy had a girlfriend. And it's like, bro, first off, it's 2023. Why do you care? And then as Terrence said, y'all called her ugly anyway. So like, what, she gotta be like ugly and alone? Like, leave that girl alone. Let her have a girlfriend. Shut up. And they about to like destroy user reviews on every relevant site because of review bombing. And most of the time, it's either woke complaints or if it's video games, it's like console wars. And then the other thing is, it's also making it hard to call out bad media in general. Like them Star Wars sequel films was ass, but they wasn't ass because Daisy Ridley was in the film. They weren't ass because Kelly Marie Tran was in the movie. They were just actresses doing the best job that they could with the material that was given them. Them films was weak because the writing was weak. The creators didn't know what they were doing, and they couldn't get over their obsession with with Palpatine and the Skywalkers. Like that's why the movies was whack. They had nothing to do with like, oh, it was woke. They put the woke
And they
Walk
changed directors.
Skywalker. Yeah, and they changed directors like they clearly didn't have no kind of plan. They just went in there and was like, oh, well, you know, it's Star Wars. They're gonna watch it regardless. Like, come on, man.
That
Like,
ain't always true.
it definitely ain't always true. Like, even it just makes me feel like we get to the point where I can't even critique something that's ass because I don't want to get lumped in with the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Like, we gotta knock this shit off. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you see this video and you upset, like, just know that I want out of this anti-woke shit. Like, y'all gotta shut the fuck up and just engage with the media as it is. And if it's bad, just know that it's bad. Cause like, Forspoken was bad. It was not bad because they had Frey in it. It was bad because it was a bad video game.
Yeah, trash
like,
game. Yeah.
That's all it is. Like,
That was it.
had nothing to do with no black woman protagonist. Shut the fuck up. So like, that's where I'm at right now. Rakeem, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you. I feel like this type of movement has to burn out over time, just like many other movies on the internet. Overuse will always come into play. Eventually, people will get tired of the content. And as I talked about earlier in the last question, if you don't evolve with your content, it just eventually sometimes you just die, and they will move on as a result of that, and they'll find other things to complain about, or actually, get out of that system. I've watched videos about guys who have were in kind of like the anti-feminism mode, anti-woke mode, and they got out of that system and realized, like, hey, this is not a positive thing for my psyche or the people who follow me. I need to focus on something else instead. But also, I think for us to get out of this mindset, we actually have to have, I guess, going to what you were saying, like real conversations, and not just like falling for the same old headlines. Like, people in general got to wake up like, hey, I've seen this 100 times. I get it. This is a ploy. It's kind of like me and Devin. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about how we woke up from the hustle culture, the inspiration guys. It was the same system every single time. They had the same type of music in the background, the exact same quips. You buy the book, you get into their program, you take their classes. It's a system to get you in and get you roped in, but it's a lie. It's a system to get you roped into their thinking that you're going to be rich one day, and really they're taking your money so they can. It's a ploy. And sometimes that's the same thing with this anti-woke movement. Like, some of this is a ploy. They want you to be angry and comment and rage and feed on their videos because it's making them money. Take a step back on some of this content and really realize, are you really that angry? But like, if I see something like I may disagree with, I just don't watch it. It's very simple. Like, it's very weird to me, like, people in their 30s who probably aren't even going to go see Little Mermaid complain about Little Mermaid being black. It's different, like, if you part of that age group and you like don't like the direction of the characters, or the story is weak, or like it's truncated, and that could be an essence of it being too preachy or something in certain elements, and that's kind of been taken out of context, because what does preachy even mean now? Having a message at all? That could be taken out of context. But like, if you're like 35 or 40 and you haven't watched a Little Mermaid in 25 years, like, I mean, you can have an opinion on it, but it doesn't really matter. You're not the target audience anymore. And I think that's one of the roots of the problem is like, a lot of these older people who are seeing these changes in society, they're not the target audience anymore when they were target audience 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And that type of shift is hard to swallow. That people don't make things exactly for what you want anymore. And to be honest, if you really look, like, especially in gaming, you really shouldn't have that complaint, because gaming is one of the areas where, like, nostalgia is really strong right now. If you like old games, old CRPGs, old shooters, old fighting games, they got you, dog. You don't have to complain about these new AAA games. Play those boomer shooters they got on Steam. They got hundreds. Play those CRPGs they got on Steam, man. There's plenty of them on there you might like. There's still people who make those old experiences you like, and these new experiences might not be for you or the stories they tell. Just play the old stuff. They got you. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit of that. It's going to take a little bit of it dying out. It's going to take a little bit of the conversation changing, people kind of waking up to the ploys and tricks of this system. People fall for it a lot. It's pretty easy. I mean, it was weird for me when I first heard people say woke in regular conversation. That was a wake up call for me. I was like, yo, This
What
is
the fuck y'all
weird
talking
now.
about this?
Like it's on TV, it's everywhere. Like you can overdo it, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta let them guys burn themselves out. They overdo it so much, they don't know when to stop. It's like a dance. They won't let it, like the dab. You let it die like the dab. Just let them use it over and over and over again till we're sick of it. And that's what's gonna have to happen.
Terrence, 2 minutes, man. What do you think? What's our way out of this?
So real quick, because the internet allows everybody to have an opinion, unfortunately, yeah, the good thing is you can have an opinion, but the bad thing is everybody has an opinion. So that's where we get a lot of these people coming out here. They can jump on to YouTube, they can jump on Twitter, and if they have a microphone, a camera, or fingers to type, then you can just say whatever you want, and there's people out there that will back it. And yeah, that's just the catch-22 of the internet. And in terms of just how we fix all of this, like you all have pretty much said, I think that eventually it has to die out. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know about it dying as quickly. I think that that depends on how much of this woke quote unquote content continues to succeed. Like stuff like Across the Spider-Verse, if that continues to succeed, hell, even with The Little Mermaid, how people criticize that did well at the box office. With stuff like that, if it continues to succeed and prove those anti-woke people wrong, then they're gonna have no choice but to eat crow on it. Like you can't continue to make videos about it and saying that is bad if that stuff continues to succeed and the majority of the audience wants that kind of stuff. So I think that's what it's going to take. It's just kind of like more of a cultural shift into that direction of people embracing that content, and the people who don't, they're the ones that are in the minority and they slowly phase out. So I think that's how we get there.
Great answer. Great answer. Will, you got 2 minutes. What's up?
All right, man. The best way, I wholeheartedly agree with y'all, and I definitely agree with Keem. It's gonna have to be a case of it burning out. People are gonna have to get tired of it sooner or later. It's gonna be like that whole case of like you see it get 1 million views, and someone along the line is gonna start shooting down from 900K to 800 to 700 to 6 to 5 till it starts getting down to the 5, 4, and 3 digits. It's gonna get to that point. How long I couldn't tell you, but it'll definitely take some time for this to kind of go away. It won't happen in a year's time, won't happen in 2, but I can see it definitely kind of fading itself off because let's be real. After hearing it in actual real life conversation, you'll be like, somebody is not gonna say this no more. People are gonna get tired of it, and I also hope that a lot of the content that has anti-woke people kind of by the throat, I hope it kind of keeps them by the throat and let them be like, you gonna wake up with us. So you already know what time it is. So
I think
give it a chance it'll happen.
I think one of the things like that's gonna kill it is like you have a lot of these young kids that see it that like started out watching all this anti-woke conversation, but at the end of the day, kids are born to rebel. And so when you see like old politicians and your old fucking dad and granddad talk about woke, it don't matter like what you think, you're gonna be like, I can't sound like them. I gotta get the fuck away from this. Right. And even whether it comes down to you making up new words or introducing a new culture or some shit, but you like, I gotta get the fuck away from this shit. This is what the old folks talking about, and I can't be old. So like that's really what that is.
And that's a really good point too, Sage. The new ones, they gonna be the ones to kind of phase it out. They gonna be the ones to get it kind of and slide out like, look, we not talking about that no more. It's about this now. So
right.
Once they come through here and they have their time in the sun and go through all their phases and they changes and whatnot, they gonna slide the stuff out. That's a very good point to make. Next generation, they gonna take it out, if anything.
Devin, 2 minutes, bro. What you think? How do we get out of this nonsense?
I was thinking maybe one thing, dude. I know they did this with like a few key hot buzzwords, maybe like a few years ago on YouTube, and they like made it just like almost outlaw the word, like you couldn't even use it, like SIMP, like you couldn't use that word and stuff.
Oh man, it did hello self. Became a bad word.
Even incel, like you
can't use
I
that.
feel like you could just do that with because again, I do ultimately believe that what you all said is really just what's nature just gonna take its course. Y'all remember we used to use the word, I don't know, I'm pretty sure at least half of us on here have used this word back in the day, like, man, that's stale. I remember we used to use that when we was kids. Man, how long ago that was?
Yo, that's tight.
Stale. That's tight. Like
man,
all these.
I ain't used tight in so long.
I have not.
I know.
So stuff. I feel like we have talked about the history of the word woke and what it originally meant, and what like this metamorphosis that is going into the next 5-10 years. Woke is gonna mean, I don't know, that you like Colgate toothpaste. Oh, he woke. He used Colgate. It's just gonna mean something crazy. Maybe fade out. But yeah, like all these words we use, and
Thought,
like
you
Rakeem
gotta
said,
get rid of thought.
Oh yeah,
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 and
we don't
like
really say that much anymore. Yeah.
yeah, just kind of phase. Like you still hear it, but it's not. It's like there's always certain points where that word is used so much. It's like Rakeem just mentioned when he first heard the word woke being used like in just regular just conversations. Like
Man, that was weird.
like, and I can remember other terms like cap. When I first heard somebody say cap, when that's cap, I was like, huh?
Look, I'm holding on to cap right now.
Excuse me, but it's just like how language changing again. Like
Mm-hmm.
the younger generation coming up, they might phase
They
something
have a new
into it.
word.
Like Sage mentioned, he made a good point about young people. They don't want to do things that make them seem old. Like that's old folks though. I don't want to do that. So that could be part of it as well. But I do think maybe that I don't know. Again, it's also about the clicks and the money and what drives the algorithm. So YouTube could be like, hey man, this is what's people watching this stuff, so we want them to click on this. We don't want to get rid of this, So it could be like this give and take of this stuff may not be the healthiest content, but it makes us a lot of money. So I don't know. But I do think that overall nature just might take its course.
Man, I love that the idea of like YouTube just finally being like, man, this shit is harmful. Maybe we should get this shit out of here. Like, and Devin hit the nail on the head where he was like, hey man, it probably won't happen that way because they're making too much money off of it. But eventually, like, you got to start looking at the harm that you're causing, and then like, I guess if they feel uncomfortable, either by the government or by public social pressure of just being like, oh well, maybe we got to get this shit the fuck off the app, and then like you force it off like this anti-woke this and that. Like if like so enough people was like, hey, cut that bullshit out. Maybe YouTube be like, all right, you can't say simp, you can't say incel, you can't say this shit no more. Get the fuck out of here. Like maybe that helps.
You get the censorship guys after that.
It'd be too late by that point. Like once the actual platform says cut that bullshit out, it's over with.
Right. All right. I just thought about one thing though. The word woke is a weird one because it's like it's also like, what if some person says I woke up and it's like is my video get taken down because I said I woke up?
Yes.
So that would be a weird one. That would
have to be a weird one.
You better come up with a synonym to open that thesaurus up.
I rose from my grave.
Oh, why? It's from your grave.
Yeah. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. If you like this episode, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor. Hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. We on Threads now. I don't know why, but we on that motherfucker. We there. Say hi to us. Don't just check us out. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody, tell your coworkers. You don't know, you might make a new friend. And do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.
Stay woke, brothers.